Hi, I'm the Paleo Puppet. You can find more information at paleomagazine.net. That is paleomagazine.net. So let's get started. In the next 2 or 3 minutes, I'm going to show you which foods are allowed on a paleo diet and which foods are not allowed. I get asked so often which foods are allowed on a paleo diet and which foods are not. It's a great question, but today I want to approach it from a slightly different perspective. I'm going to tell you 3 things. First of all, the group of foods I don't eat at all, the group of foods that I'm careful with, and the group of foods that I do eat. So the first category of foods is foods that I don't eat, which means that I avoid them if at all possible. Sometimes when I'm out, I'll, have a little something, but not very often. In this category, there are 5 groups. The first group of foods is grains. They're not the worst thing in the world, but they are high in toxins and polyamines like gluten. They are very low in nutrients, despite what you have been told for 30 years. The second group of foods is legumes. They are just like grains. They tend to have a lot of proteins that are associated with gut and digestion issues. They are not very high in nutrients, although they are slightly better than grains, but I'd stay away from them. And I never liked beans anyway. The third group of foods, and this may be the most important, that is processed sugars. This is anything chocolate, sodas, fruit juices. Anything that has sugar added to it becomes toxic very quickly and does not have a whole lot of nutrients, so I stay away from those. The fourth group, the most overlooked group of foods, and that is vegetable and seed oils. They are very high in omega-6 fats. They are very inflammatory. They are very easily oxidized, which means they will cause you gut issues and inflammation problems. Stay away from them. Don't eat foods that are cooked in safflower, sunflower, or corn oil, or any other oil that's derived from a seed. The fifth and final group, and this is a catch-all, this is don't eat anything that is processed. So if it's in the bag, if it's in a box, if it doesn't look like it grew on a plant or ate a plant, I don't eat it. So there are my 5 groups of food that I stay away from, and they are grains, legumes, processed sugar, vegetable oil, and anything that's processed. Second category of foods. These are the foods that I'm careful about. It's a little complicated, so you'll have to watch my other videos where I explain the details, but this category of foods are groups that I'm careful with. I'll either eat only certain types, or I only eat them at certain times, not very often, basically, and I don't eat too much of them. 3 groups of foods within this category. The first group of foods is dairy. If it's in your grocery store, it's often pasteurized, homogenized, and not real dairy. If it's raw or fermented, for example, full-fat Greek yogurt or raw milk, those things are probably okay because they still have good bacteria in them, and they haven't been homogenized and altered by chemicals, so dairy is one that I'm careful with. Second group of foods, and that is nuts and seeds. Yeah, I know, a lot of paleo folks think you can eat as many nuts and seeds as you want, but the fact of the matter is most of them are pretty high in omega-6 fats, which are inflammatory and not that great for you. Most of them are very easy to overeat, which means you can eat a ton. And they're not all that nutrient-dense, and often hard to digest. So I'm very careful with how many I eat. The third and final group in this category that I'm careful with are the starchy tubers. That includes sweet potatoes, yams, cassava, taro, and anything that often grows in the ground, like a root vegetable. Be careful with these, particularly if you are not active, or if you know someone that is not active or has insulin sensitivity issues. They can spike your blood sugar and spike your insulin levels. It's not that bad if you're active crossfitting or running, but it's a problem if you have hormonal issues like insulin sensitivity. So those are the 3 groups of foods that I am very careful with, and that is, starting at the end, root vegetables and starchy tubers, dairy, and also nuts and seeds. The third and final category of foods that I have in my classification system is foods that I eat all the time. These are foods that I don't worry about. I will eat them no matter what. In this category, there are 5 groups of food, and I'm going to touch on each of them very quickly. The first group of food is vegetables. Please, please, please eat more vegetables. I see so many people go on a Paleolithic diet. They eat very few vegetables, just a bunch of meat. Oh, don't get me wrong, meat is great, and you bet your bippy I'll get to that soon, but vegetables are very high in nutrients. They are very low in toxins and very delicious. Second group, fruits. Some people are worried about fruits. Just as a caveat, I don't include dried fruits, but whole fruits. Anything like berries, even stone fruits and tropical fruits, like apples and pears, like pineapples and mangoes. It's hard to overeat them because they have a lot of water and fiber, and they are very nutrient-dense and very low in toxins. So that's group 1 and 2, vegetable and fruits. Group 3, you guessed it, it's meats. We're talking beef, lamb, chicken, pork. How about meats you're not used to eating? Alligator, kangaroo, whatever, just throw them on the grill. Meats are great. They are very nutrient dense. They barely have any toxins because things like saturated fats and cholesterol that we used to think were toxins are not actually toxins. So they are very good for you. You can pretty much eat as much as you want. Okay, fourth group. This one is going to throw some of you for a loop, but organ meats. So when I talk about meats, I'm talking mostly about muscle meats. These are things like steak and burgers. Organ meats are liver, kidney, brains, intestines, and stomach. These are the single most nutrient-dense foods that you can eat. They are great for you. They are very low in toxins and very high in vitamins and minerals and a whole lot of other things that you don't get in abundance in a lot of other foods. So please, 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 eat the entire animal. I know it sounds a little weird, but believe me, it's worth it. The fifth group of foods is seafood. I particularly include shellfish in this, but obviously fish, shellfish, and oysters. Oysters are so nutritious. Please eat oysters. They are delicious. Shellfish are my favorite thing anyway, so shellfish and seafood are my fifth and final group in this category. To recap this category, things that I eat include the obvious ones like meat, vegetables, and fruit, but also please eat a lot of seafood and please eat a lot of organ meats because they are so nutrient dense. So there you have it. In this video, we learned an easy to understand paleo diet list of foods. So I urge you to please eat a lot of seafood and please eat a lot of organ meats because they're very nutrient dense. If you are considering going paleo, you need to watch out for incorrect information about paleo on the internet. The internet is full of wrong information about paleo dieting. I hope you enjoyed this video on my 3 categories of foods. Foods I don't eat, foods that I'm careful with, and foods that I do eat. To learn more in depth about the paleo lifestyle, go to paleomagazine.net. There's a magazine on this, and you can get it at paleomagazine.net. Click the link in the description and go download that magazine, and I'll see you in the next video.